Hey YouTube, welcome back. Today we'll continue our, I guess this will be the last video in the core principles of NestJS. Today we'll talk about the dependency injection. So if you are familiar with Angular, I guess the dependency injection is not a new thing for you. If you're not, just let's, we will discuss it together and we work on it on high level. So dependency injection is a core principle of Node.js and it is a fundamental to creating a loosely coupled, easily testable, and maintainable application. In NestJS, the dependency injection system is packed into the framework at a fundamental level, allowing you to define dependencies that your classes should receive or inject. So let's just make like some sort of overview on it. First, we can talk about the basics of the dependency injection. Let's make this one in NestJS. The first thing that we have providers. In NestJS, providers are often services or repositories that can be injected into consumers like controllers or other services. They can be anything that can be shared across components, such as configuration services, helper classes, or database connections. Also, we want to talk about oh no, we want to talk about the injection tokens. So NestJS uses tokens to identify dependencies. Most of the time, these tokens are class constructors, which is class references, but they can also be string or simples if you need to avoid circular dependencies or if you prefer a more dynamic approach. So, how it's implemented or how the dependency injection implemented and how it works. So, first we have decorators. Decorators. NestJS uses decorators such as injectable or add, inject, and also add optional to declare and inject dependencies. We have what we call scope. Providers in NestJS can have different scope. We have like a singleton, request, or a transient, which determine with the lifetime within the actual application. Lastly, we have modules. So modules in NestJS uses the provider array to register providers at the module level. They they can then be made available to other modules through the exports array. Let's talk about the advantages of the dependency injection in NestJS. First, loose coupling. By using dependency injection, you can easily replace the implementation of a dependency without changing the class that uses it. This is particularly useful for testing as you can inject mock versions of your services. Second, testability. With dependency injection, testing becomes more straightforward. You can easily mock dependencies and test classes in isolation without worrying about their concrete dependencies. Number three, maintainability. Dependency injection promotes single responsibility and separation of concerns, which in turn makes the application easier to understand and maintain. Lastly, modularity. The use of dependency injections allow for modular architecture, making it easier for manage the application complexity as it grows. Let's take some a practical example of how dependency injection works. So let's say that we have this code here, and I will create a file and I will create it like cat dot service dot ts. For example, it just we just are trying to play around. This is not a real world application, or this is not even application. I didn't even installed anything. I'm just trying to show the example. So for instance, if I have this, of course, everything will be quite errors because there is no implementing of anything, but we just let's imagine there is no error here. So if you have a cat service, let's say that we have a cat service that depends on a cat repository. I need a cat repository. You would inject the repository into the service like that. This is how we inject it. And your cat repository would define within an injectable like your cat repository would be defined within an injectable decorator, making it provider that can be injected elsewhere. Also in the module that encapsulate the features, you declare these as a providers, something like that. So best practices with the dependency injection, interface-based programming, like in it is good. First, let's just type it first because, in my opinion, it's really important to talk about this one. Can I make the okay? Let's go back to the Let's go back here. I want to talk about the no, don't save anything. I want to talk about the interface based programming. So it's good practice to code against interfaces rather than concrete implementations. This can be achieved in TypeScript by using abstract classes or interfaces along with custom providers in NestJS. We have a single responsibility. It's a pretty big topic too. Ensures that each service has a single responsibility and relies on a dependency injection to obtain its dependencies. This keeps your service focused and easier to manage. And also, we want to talk about the life cycle accessness, awareness, life cycle awareness. Be aware of life cycle of your providers or to avoid memory leaks, especially with request scoped providers. So, in conclusion, dependency injection is a powerful feature that, when used correctly, can greatly enhance the flexibility and maintainability of your Nest.js application. It encourages the encourages clean code practice and provides an elegant solution to many problems related to managing classes dependencies. So that's it for this video, and I hope you like my content. If you like my content, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you will never miss a video, and see you in future problem.